Who here is a fan of carrot cake cupcakes? Me. Today's recipe is a very classic and delicious carrot cake cupcake, and obviously has a cream cheese frosting to go with. This is 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Now this calls for regular salt, so I'm using kosher salt, so I'm gonna use a teaspoon because it doesn't say kosher, and that means it's gonna be saltier if you use the fine salt. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg. Whisk that together. Make sure you whisk really well because a weird thing happens if you don't properly whisk your baking soda into your dry ingredients when you're making carrot cake. The carrots turn green if it comes into contact with some unwhisked in baking soda. So this is like, if there was ever a time to whisk properly, this is the time. Because one time I was shooting a carrot cake recipe for this very video series, and that happened, and I cut into the cake and there were literally green pieces of carrot in there. So do yourself a favor and whisk properly. This is a stick of unsalted butter melted. To that add 1 cup of light brown sugar. Whisk it. 2 tablespoons of yogurt. 1.5 cups of grated carrot, from like 4 carrots approximately, depends on how big they are. Whisking, 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 whisking. 1 large egg. And 1/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. You're getting a lot of delicious flavors in here. You have just a little hint of vanilla, you have all those warm spices with the cinnamon and ginger and nutmeg, so there's a lot going on here that makes this cake really delicious. Though I am still convinced that the reason that people love carrot cake so much is the frosting, which is cream cheese. Then you whisk in your dry ingredients and your batter is done. The oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Sure this is fully combined. I always start with a whisk because I've been whisking things and then I get annoyed because all the batter gets stuck inside of the whisk tines. So then I switch to a spatula or a spoon or something like that just to make sure that it's fully combined, because I'm always like banging on the whisk to get the batter out and then the batter spatters all over me. I'm sure that's happened to you too, right? This is standard muffin tin lined with cupcake liners. And then divide the batter evenly between the lined cups. So you want these about 3/4 of the way full. And it's a pretty thick batter, so using an ice cream scoop is great for this because you can measure pretty evenly. And even if you don't have the appropriate size scoop, it's still a really neat and clean way to get the batter from one place to the other. And you can always go back and add a little bit to each cup if you haven't used enough. But I'm pretty excited because I feel like I divided this very well and I'm getting exactly the right amount. It's always exciting. I usually have to go back and do at least 1 more scooping. But these will just go into the oven at 375, and you want to bake them until the top springs back when lightly touched. That'll take 20 to 25 minutes. Once your cupcakes are cool, you can make your frosting. Actually, you can make it while they're cooling if you want. This is 8 ounces of cream cheese and 4 tablespoons of room temperature unsalted butter in my mixer. Beat those to combine. This is a cup of confectioner sugar, and as soon as your cream cheese and butter are combined, you can add your confectioner sugar. I just like to start off the combining, but be careful when you turn your mixer back on. I can't tell you how many times I have gotten sprayed in the face with confectioner sugar. So I say it every single time now, just to remind myself not to turn the mixer on too high. 1.5 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of finely grated orange zest. If you don't like orange, you could use lemon. If you don't like either, just leave it out. That's perfectly fine. Obviously, it's to your taste. Beat to combine. That's it. That's cream cheese frosting. I feel like it's the most popular frosting out there, and it's one of the easiest. So you should definitely make this. takes these to a whole nother level. And then a couple of teaspoons per cupcake, but you know, this is certainly not something I'm gonna measure. If you were really fancy, you could chill this frosting just a little bit and pipe it on. Like a little swirl action. But like this, they're super cute, really homey, and really delicious. Creamy, delicious frosting and a spicy, carroty cupcake. What more could you ask for? If you like recipes like this and you want more, make sure to click like and subscribe because we have plenty more where this came from.